Welcome to Heidi Relationships. Today, we'll read some more stories from Reddit. But before we start, I would really appreciate if you could subscribe to the channel, like the video if you enjoyed it, and maybe leave a comment down below. That would help the channel a lot. Thank you very much in advance. The first one is titled, "My partner gave his family access to our bank account. I froze it." My hands are still shaking as I type this, but I need to share what just happened and get some perspective on whether I overreacted or not. I'm Kim, 32F, and my partner Steven, 35M, and I have been together for 4 years, living together for 2. We're not married, but we might as well be. We own our condo together, share all our finances, and have been talking about kids in the next year or two. Or at least we were. Now I'm not so sure about anything anymore. Some background: I work as an accountant, and Steven runs his family's small construction business with his dad and brother. When we first moved in together, we decided to keep our personal accounts separate, but opened a joint account for shared expenses like the mortgage, utilities, groceries, etc. We each contribute proportionally to our income. I make about 20% more than Steven, so I put in a bit more each month. The arrangement worked great for the first year and a half. We never fought about money, always had enough for our bills and some savings, and still maintained our financial independence. I thought we were on the same page about everything. Some context about our financial history. Steven and I actually met at a first-time homebuyers workshop 5 years ago. I was there for research. He was there because his dad suggested learning about mortgages before joining the family business. We bonded over spreadsheets and debt-to-income ratios. I know, super romantic. In those early dating days, Steven seemed incredibly financially responsible. He drove a modest used car that was fully paid off, lived in a reasonable apartment, and always insisted on splitting dates fairly. We'd have long conversations about our financial goals and values. He even impressed me by having a decent emergency fund saved up. My dad always taught me to save for rainy days, he'd tell me. In construction, you never know when work might slow down. When we first talked about moving in together, we spent weeks planning our budget. Steven was the one who suggested keeping separate personal accounts while sharing one joint account for household expenses. He even created an Excel spreadsheet to track our shared costs. Though now I wonder if his family helped him with that just to make me feel secure. "It's important to be transparent about money in a relationship," he said back then. "I've seen too many couples fight about finances." I remember being so impressed by his mature attitude. Here was a man who understood the importance of financial responsibility and open communication. Looking back, I should have wondered why someone so apparently careful with money was still so enmeshed with his family's finances. But love makes you ignore red flags sometimes, right? We were even talking about setting up a shared investment account for our future goals. A house down payment fund, potential wedding savings, maybe even an early start on college funds for future kids. Thank God we never got around to that. I used to brag to my friends about how Steven and I never fought about money. "We're totally on the same page," I'd say. No surprises, no secret spending, no financial drama. Well, turns out I was half right. There weren't any secret shopping sprees or hidden credit cards, just an entire family treating our joint account like their personal emergency fund. Because about 3 months ago, I noticed some weird transactions in our joint account. Small withdrawals I didn't recognize, mostly from ATMs across town. At first I thought our card info might have been stolen, but none of the amounts were very large. $40 here, $75 there, usually round numbers. I mentioned it to Steven casually one evening while reviewing our monthly statements. "Hey babe, did you take out cash from the ATM near the Walmart last Thursday? I don't remember either of us being in that area." He barely glanced up from his phone. "Oh yeah, that was probably my mom. She needed some cash for groceries." I froze. "Your mom? How did she access our account?" "I gave her the spare debit card and PIN for emergencies. You know how they've been struggling since Dad had to cut back his hours at work?" I felt like I'd been punched in the gut. "You gave your mother access to our joint account without telling me?" He finally looked up, frowning at my tone. "It's not a big deal. She only uses it when they're really tight on money, and they always pay it back eventually." "Eventually? How long has this been going on?" He shrugged. "A couple months, maybe. Dad's medical bills have been rough on them." I pulled up our account history and started adding up the withdrawals. Over $2,000 had been taken out in small amounts over the past 2 months. My head was spinning. "Steven, this is completely inappropriate. That's our household money, for our bills and expenses. We never agreed to give your family access." "Their family?" he said, like that explained everything. "We help each other out. Your family would do the same for you." My family would never take money without asking, and if they needed help, I would discuss it with you first. You're making too big a deal out of this, he insisted. Mom and Dad raised me, helped me start the business. We owe them. We don't owe them anything. And even if we did, that doesn't give you the right to give them access to our joint funds without my knowledge or consent. The argument escalated from there. Stephen accused me of being selfish and uncaring about his family's struggles. I pointed out that his sister also supposedly borrows money regularly and never pays it back. He claimed I was being cold and acting like an accountant instead of a partner. That night, I lay awake reviewing every financial decision we'd ever made together. Had there been other lies, other secret arrangements I didn't know about? The next morning, I went through our statements more carefully. The withdrawals weren't just from his mom. I found transactions from locations near his sister's house and his brother's workplace, too. They were treating our account like a family piggy bank. I made my decision before heading to work. I contacted the bank and froze the joint account, then transferred my portion of next month's expenses to my personal account. I texted Stephen, "I've frozen our joint account due to unauthorized access and transactions. We need to discuss this when I get home." His response came quickly. "WTF? My mom needed gas money this morning. You can't just freeze our account." "Actually, I can. It's a joint account and unauthorized access is a security issue. We'll talk tonight." I turned my phone off after that, needing to focus on work. When I got home that evening, Stephen was waiting with his family, his parents and sister all crowded in our living room, looking angry and defensive. "Really, Kim?" His sister almost yelled before I could even set down my purse. "You're going to be this petty over a little family help." I took a deep breath. This isn't a family discussion. This is between Stephen and me. "Like hell it is," his mother interjected. "You froze our access to help when we need it, after everything we've done for Stephen, for both of you." "I'm sorry to say," I said as calmly as I could, "you never had authorized access to begin with. Stephen gave you access to our joint account without my knowledge or consent. That's not okay." "We're family," she insisted, as if that was the answer to everything. "We're supposed to be supporting each other in tough times." "Family also respects boundaries," I countered, "and family doesn't take money behind someone's back." Stephen finally spoke up. "Just unfreeze the account, Kim. You're embarrassing everyone and making problems where there don't need to be any." I looked at him, really looked at him, and felt something crack inside me. "No, Stephen, you created this problem when you decided to give your entire family access to our money without telling me. We're supposed to be partners. Partners don't do this to each other." "It's my money too," he shot back. "I should be able to help my family if I want to." "Then use your personal account. The joint account is for our household expenses, which you agreed to when we set it up. Or did you plan this all along? Was this why you pushed for a joint account in the first place?" His slight flinch told me everything I needed to know. "Oh my God," I whispered. "You did, didn't you? This was never about sharing expenses. It was about having a way to fund your family without them having to ask directly." "Now you're just being paranoid," his sister sneered. "Stephen's not some criminal mastermind. He's just being a good son and brother, which you'd understand if you weren't so selfish. I'd had enough. Everyone who doesn't live here needs to leave. Now, Stephen and I need to have a private conversation about our relationship and our finances." "We're not going anywhere until you unfreeze that account," his mother declared. "We have bills to pay." "Your bills are not my responsibility," I said firmly. "And if you don't leave, I'll call the police and report you for trespassing." That got them moving, though not without a lot of dramatic huffing and dire predictions about how I was ruining the family and would regret being so heartless. Once they were gone, I turned to Stephen. "How much?" "What?" "How much have they actually taken over the past year? And don't lie to me. I'll find out anyway when I go through all our statements." He slumped onto the couch. "I don't know exactly. Maybe 15 or 20,000. I felt dizzy. $20,000 in unauthorized withdrawals from our joint account? Money that was supposed to be for our household and our future? They needed it. Dad's medical bills, my nephew's school fees, Mom's car repairs. And you never thought to discuss any of this with me, your partner, the person you supposedly want to build a life with? You wouldn't have understood. You're always so rigid about money, with your budgets and savings goals." "You mean I'm responsible?" "Yeah, funny how being an accountant makes me care about things like consent and transparency with shared finances." We argued for hours. Every new detail made me more angry and hurt. He'd given his whole family our account details the week after we opened it. They had an informal rotation of who could withdraw money when. His sister hadn't paid back a single dollar she'd borrowed. His parents kept promising to repay everything once their business improved, but somehow there was always a new crisis needing more money. "I want you to move out," I finally said around midnight. "What? You can't be serious." "I am. I can't trust you anymore, Stephen. Not with money, not with our future, not with anything. You've been lying to me for almost 2 years. Your family has stolen thousands of dollars from us. This isn't something we can just fix with an apology. But I love you. We can work this out. Love doesn't take money behind someone's back. Love doesn't give unauthorized access to shared accounts. Love doesn't ambush someone with angry family members when they try to protect their finances." He tried everything, crying, begging, promising to make his family pay everything back, swearing he'd never do it again. But my trust was shattered. I told him he had 2 days to find somewhere else to live. "And what about the condo?" he demanded. "You can't just kick me out of my own home." "We'll figure that out legally, but I'm not living with someone who's proven they can't be trusted with our shared finances." He moved in with his parents the next day, though not without a lot of drama and attempts to guilt me into changing my mind. His family alternated between angry texts calling me horrible names and tearful messages about how I was destroying their brother's happiness. I contacted a lawyer to start the process of either buying out Stephen's share of the condo or selling it entirely. I also spoke with my bank about protecting my personal accounts and credit, just in case Stephen or his family tried anything else. The next few weeks were a blur of legal meetings, financial documentation, and endless attempts by Stephen's family to pressure me into working things out. They even sent their pastor to talk to me about forgiveness and family obligations, but I stood firm. This wasn't just about the money, though $20,000 is nothing to sneeze at. This was about trust, respect, and honesty in a relationship. Stephen had failed on all counts. The real wake-up call came when my lawyer discovered something even worse. Remember how I mentioned Stephen runs his family's construction business? Well, it turns out they've been using our joint account as a sort of slush fund for business expenses too. Whenever they needed materials or had to pay a subcontractor but were short on business funds, they'd just withdraw from our account. That's not just unethical, it's potentially illegal in terms of business accounting. They were basically using our personal joint account to float their business operations without any documentation or repayment plan. When confronted with this, Stephen finally broke down and admitted everything. His family's business had been struggling for years, way before COVID hit. They'd been robbing one person to pay another, using personal funds to cover business expenses, taking out high-interest loans, basically doing everything wrong financially. "I thought I could fix it," he sobbed during one of our legal meetings. "If I could just keep things going until business picked up again." "By stealing from your joint account?" my lawyer asked pointedly. "By involving your girlfriend's finances in your family's business problems without her knowledge or consent?" He had no good answer for that. In the end, we reached a settlement. Stephen agreed to sign over his share of the condo to me in exchange for me not pursuing legal action about the unauthorized withdrawals. His family's business is under investigation for various financial irregularities, but that's not my problem anymore. It's been 6 months since everything blew up. I'm still in our condo, which feels both lonely and peaceful. I've had to cut contact with several mutual friends who chose to believe Stephen's version of events, that I'm a cold-hearted woman who abandoned him when his family needed help. But the friends who stuck by me are worth their weight in gold. Stephen's sister actually showed up at my office last week, probably hoping to catch me off guard. She started in about family loyalty and forgiveness, but I shut her down quickly. "The time for those discussions was 2 years ago," I told her, "before you all decided to treat our joint account like your personal ATM. Actions have consequences." "We were desperate," she protested, "and Stephen said it was okay." "That's between you and Stephen, but maybe consider this. If you're constantly desperate for money, taking it from other people without their consent isn't the solution. Neither is enabling your brother to lie to his partner." She left in tears, but I didn't feel bad. Sometimes people need to face the reality of their choices. And later, I made the mistake of checking Stephen's family's social media the other day. I know. Nothing good ever comes from digital stalking your ex's family. But a mutual friend mentioned something about a fundraiser, and curiosity got the better of me. Their Facebook pages were exactly what you'd expect. Lots of dramatic posts about staying strong through trials and vague references to being betrayed by someone we trusted. Stephen's mom had changed her profile picture to some quote about how money isn't everything, family is. rich coming from someone who helped drain our joint account. But you know what? Scrolling through their posts didn't hurt like I expected. Instead, I felt this wave of relief, knowing I dodged a bullet. There were GoFundMe links for his sister's kids' school expenses, shared posts about business opportunities that screamed pyramid scheme, and constant references to traditional family values that seemed to translate to children supporting their parents financially forever. The most telling thing? Stephen's recent status update about learning hard lessons about trust and loyalty. Below it, his family members had commented things like, "Blood is thicker than water, and some people just don't understand family obligations." I closed Facebook and blocked them all, something I should have done months ago. Their financial problems aren't my concern anymore, and neither are their attempts to paint me as the villain in their family drama. My mom asked me the other day if I regret freezing that account, given everything that happened after. I told her absolutely not. Sometimes you have to break things to fix them, or to realize they can't be fixed at all. As for Stephen, last I heard through the grapevine, he's still living with his parents and trying to salvage what's left of the family business. They've apparently started some kind of family consulting side business, which seems ironic given how they handle their own finances. But that's not my circus, not my monkeys anymore. I keep all my important documents in a fireproof safe now, including statements showing exactly how much money his family took. Not because I plan to use them. The legal settlement prevents that. But as a reminder. A reminder that love shouldn't cost you your financial security or self-respect. These days, I'm focusing on rebuilding my savings and my trust in relationships. I've started dating again very casually, and I'm upfront about my experiences and boundaries. Some guys think it's weird that I bring up financial values on the first date, but I've learned the hard way that compatibility in money matters is just as important as chemistry. Just last week, I finished redecorating the home office, the room Stephen's family had tried to claim they needed to borrow money to furnish for their business meetings. It's my space now, painted in colors I chose, with a big whiteboard where I track my personal financial goals. Every time I look at it, I'm reminded that protecting your boundaries isn't selfish, it's necessary. And you better believe I check my account statements every single day. After all of that, there's no way I'm forgetting. Here are my thoughts about the story. Like, damn, imagine thinking it's totally normal to hand out joint account details like they're Halloween candy. The audacity of this entire family is just astronomical. But what really got me wasn't just the money grabbing. It was watching Stephen gaslight our girl into thinking she was the unreasonable one. You're acting like an accountant instead of a partner? My guy, she is that accountant of the two of you. That's literally her job. And thank God she is, because any non-finance person might have taken way longer to catch on to this family's whole scam operation. The part that sent me through the roof was when they ambushed her with the whole family in the living room. Like, what kind of intervention did they think this was? Hello, we're here to discuss why you won't let us steal from you anymore. The absolute nerve, and Stephen just sitting there acting like this was a totally normal family meeting? Sir, this is financial abuse with a side of emotional manipulation. The fact that he expected their relationship to survive that was absolutely crazy to me. But also, can we talk about how methodical this family was? They had a whole rotation system for withdrawals. They were running their unauthorized withdrawals like a small business operation. Actually, scratch that. They were literally running their actual business through this poor woman's joint account. That's not just crossing a line, that's taking a flying leap over it while doing backflips. The thing that makes this story hit different is how common this probably is. Like, how many people out there are drowning in family financial drama because their partner can't set boundaries? The whole, but it's family excuse is toxic as hell when it's being used to justify straight-up theft. And let's be real, $20,000 is not small change. That's a down payment or a wedding or a really nice emergency fund just gone into the black hole of Stephen's family's endless emergencies. Though I lost it at the GoFundMe part at the end, like maybe try not stealing from your son's girlfriend before asking strangers on the internet for money. The social media aftermath was just as wild as the rest of this story too. All those vague posts about family loyalty and hard lessons. Translation: we're mad we can't use our son's girlfriend as an ATM anymore. The fact they started a family consulting business after all this? I cannot. The irony is too much. But my favorite part? Our girl installing a fireproof safe for all the receipts of their theft. Not because she needs them legally anymore, but as a reminder to never let anyone steamroll her boundaries again. It's symbolic and probably a ridiculously funny story to remember later down the line when she goes to collect it. It was certainly serious in the moment, But you'd be surprised at how much humor you can find in these types of situations years later. And you know what? She's absolute goals for making financial values a first date conversation now. None of this love conquers all nonsense. Love doesn't conquer math, and it definitely doesn't conquer unauthorized withdrawals. A great amount of respect to her for not just standing her ground, but building a whole fortress on it. Sometimes the trash takes itself out, but in this case, it tried to take $20,000 with it first. Stay financially vigilant out there, folks. And if your partner ever says, but their family, to justify giving away your bank details, run. Run fast, run far, and check your account statements on the way. But anyways, guys, with this, we've reached the end of the video. Thank you so much for watching. Please subscribe and like the video/comment if you enjoyed it. I'll see you again tomorrow.